It is officially March, and that means it's time for me, you, and the rest of America, or wherever you're watching, to bet on mid-major college basketball teams that we haven't bet on or watched their games all season. What is up, everybody? I'm DaRock. I'm your host of Layup Lines, the college basketball betting show here for the Bandwagon Sports Network. And we have conference tournaments officially started today. The Atlantic Sun Conference Tournament started today. For major college basketball, it's the last week of the regular season. So I'm going to once again just get into my best bets and predictions for Tuesday's games. The first one I'm going to start off with at 7 Eastern on ESPN. The 16th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide head to Gainesville taking on the Florida Gators, who are 1.5 point favorites. Alabama won the first meeting between these two teams back on February 21st, 98-93 in overtime. Quite a thrilling game. Florida, though, the Gators, when I see an unranked team favorite at home against a ranked team, that's usually the side I play. Florida, was ranked last week before losing to South Carolina over the weekend. They're also 6-1 at home in conference play. Their only loss coming to Kentucky, who then they later avenged later in the season. So I'm going with the Gators to win in this one. And this total may be one of the highest ones I've ever seen. 176.5. But the way SEC games have been so high scoring lately, it took overtime to go over that total in their first meeting. But just the way these two teams have been scoring as of late, both having multiple games with 90 points, scoring 90 points or above. Alabama scored over 100 points. Or they didn't score. They came close to scoring 100 points and they lost to Kentucky. I think these two teams can fill the bucket. So I honestly, I'm probably going to sprinkle a little bit on that over, despite it being so high and mighty. Then the next game of the ESPN doubleheader, good Super Tuesday doubleheader, last one here of the year. Kansas State heads to the 14th ranked Jayhawks, who are 10.5 point favorites. And the total in this game is at 143.5. Kansas State, they won the first meeting between these two teams at home, 70-75 in overtime back on February 5th. In Kansas State, they've only lost one game by double digits on the road this year. So I would like to take them in the spread. I think Kansas wins this game, but Kansas isn't playing super well right now. They lost both games last week, including losing at home to BYU. Granted, BYU's a better team than Kansas State is, and then lost on the road against Baylor over the weekend. Baylor then once again got another good win tonight. So I do like Kansas on the money line. I don't know if there's going to be a ton of value there just since they're 10.5 point favorites, but I would go Kansas State to cover that. And then once again, 143.5. This is a much lower total than 176, so a lot easier cover. But I think that too, both these teams have been scoring pretty high lately. I could see, that went over in the first game. I could see it going over again here. So I'm gonna once again ride it over. Maybe that's not the smart play, but I like cheering for buckets. I think that's a good play here. So I'm gonna go with Kansas State to cover, Kansas money line, and the over. Then now let's get into some bubble games here. Some bubble games to watch at 7 Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Providence heads to Georgetown. Ed Cooley coaching up against his former team. This time on home turf, so hopefully, nothing will get thrown at him or any harsh words. Hopefully no Divine Providence Part 2 where we got Jeff Goodman going after people defending Ed Cooley online. Hopefully we don't have anything like that again. But like I mentioned, Providence won that first game 84-76 at home back on January 27th. But, DePaul's not good, Georgetown's not good. The only team they've beat in conference is DePaul. However, Providence, their only cover of this 7.5 points, or 8.5, it's 8.5 on the road was against DePaul. So I do like Providence to win this game, but this is another one where, I like the favorite to win, but I don't like them to cover. I might take Georgetown plus 8.5. But for sure, I'm going to take Providence money line. Maybe that's the play. Just throw that in, maybe with, either that Kansas money line and then a Florida or something like that. Maybe parlay some of my picks here together. I think that could be the play. Maybe a little bit better value. And I just don't know if I would trust my hard-earned money on a team like Georgetown, just like I mentioned, how bad they are this year. The other big bubble game, Florida State heads to Pitt. Pitt's a 7.5 point favorite. So similar to how Providence, needs to win, cannot drop that game if they want to get in the tournament. Pitt, same boat. Especially because they're at home here, and Florida State's not a good team either. Not as bad as Georgetown, but not good. Pitt has covered in their last 3 home games that 7.5 point number. And Florida State has not covered 7.5 in a road loss, for all of February. So Pitt, I think they'll be hungry at home, knowing this is a game they need to win. I would like them to cover that 7.5 there. Then I'm going to go in some conference tournament best bets here because, like I mentioned, they started today on Monday. Conference tournaments that we have kicking off today. We have the Patriot League, the Sun Belt, and then the Horizon League, and then the Atlantic Sun here with their quarterfinals on Tuesday. My two best bets for conference tournament teams I like to cover. I'm going to go with, first, I'm going to take Lipscomb minus 7.5 against North Alabama. These two teams did split the two season meetings on the season, with Lipscomb winning the first one 88-79 on January 20th, and then Northern Alabama winning the last one 75-70 back on February 15th. However, that was a game at home for Northern Alabama. Again, this is a neutral site game here. The Atlantic Sun, they play games at the two highest seeds in the tournament host the tournament. So while it's not a home game for either team, I think Lipscomb is the better team. I would like them to cover that 7.5 number. And then another one, this team actually is at home. Wisconsin, UW Wisconsin, Milwaukee. They're at home against Detroit Mercy. Detroit Mercy only has one win on the year against a pitiful Ooey Pooey team at home. So I would like UW Milwaukee. Sorry, too many acronyms. I'm doing too many acronyms here. To cover that 12.5 against Detroit Mercy. Then my mid-major game of the day, that's not a conference tournament, going to the Mountain West at 11 Eastern on Fox Sports 1. We got another Nevada in another late game, and it was a thriller last Tuesday. Hopefully it can be once again. They head to Boise State, who is a 5.5-point favorite. Both these teams are hot, winning their last 5 games. Boise State also won the first meeting between these two teams on the road, 64-56 back on January 12th. The Broncos are 6-2 at home this year, so it is possible to go on the road to Boise and win. And I mean, I didn't like Nevada last week. Didn't like Nevada last week against Colorado State, and they proved me wrong. But this week, I don't know if they have it in them again. Like I said, just with Boise winning the first game already on the road, now they're coming home. They cover that 5.5 on the road. I think they can do it here at home. So I'm going to go with Boise State minus 5.5. And then the game of the night. Sadly, this one's on a streaming service, so I hope you guys have Peacock because it's 7 Eastern. The third-ranked Purdue Boilermakers head to Illinois, 12th-ranked team in the country. The Fighting Illini are actually 1.5-point favorites in this one with a total of 163.5. Purdue won the first two meetings between these teams back on January 5th, 83-78. However, in that game, Illinois was out without Terrence Shannon. He will be in the lineup tomorrow. Illinois is also 8-1 at home in conference. With that only loss, it was just like a weird game to Maryland. They lost at home. And their overs they've covered the last 8 overs, over that 163.5 number. So for sure, I like the buckets in this one just because Illinois, they're a high-scoring team. They remind me of like a Kentucky. Like they score, they don't play a lot of defense. It's going to be hard to stop Zach Edey. I think Purdue's going to get their points as well. So I think it's going to be a really high-scoring affair. And if I had to take a side, I'm going to go with the Fighting Illini. I know I have some Fighting Illini fans that listen, so they're going to be happy with that pick. I think it's the way to go. I mean, Purdue, they are a very good team, but they did just lose on the road to Ohio State recently. It's never easy to go on the road in conference. And like I said, whenever I see a lower-ranked team being the home favorite, it's just kind of says like I think that's the right play. That would make sense to play them. Like it wouldn't really make sense for if they're they're ranked higher, they should be the better team. Why are they not favored? So don't try to outthink it there. I mean just play the favorite. I think that's the move there. That's what I'm gonna be doing. And yeah, those are gonna be my picks for Tuesday's games. Great slate here. We're really heating up here in college basketball. Like I said, last week of the regular season, we have conference tournaments going. A lot on the line, a lot at stake this week. Hopefully you guys have some stake in the game and I can get you some wins here. Or if you think my picks are bad, fade me and win some money that way. But whatever you do, make sure to like this video. Make sure to subscribe if you're on YouTube here. If you're on Spotify, we're on Spotify now. All these shows are on Spotify. Make sure to follow the show. Rate 5 stars. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you for tomorrow's video. Peace.